dark and I was beginning to have trouble, so I just cut the top off. I'm going to drag that out right now, then go down. There's a tree down there I'm going to take, and then I'm going to drop a couple more. I hope to get 3 or 4 more out today. It takes about an hour, hour and a half turn, and I'll just run out of daylight. I'm going to run Cyclops again today. I'm not going to even bother sharpening the chain. I'm just going to run it the way it is. And drop 4 and see if I can get them out of there. One thing is for certain, that I ran this thing damn near dry yesterday. And of course, it isn't really fair yet to say whether or not it's as fuel efficient as my other saws or not, but my first instinct is it probably isn't. You know what I'm saying? It's an old design, one of those aftermarket big bores and stuff like that. But you know, there's a couple things that come to mind with this saw, and I'm not quite sure how I want to get into it, but if I took out 4 trees, I more than paid for that saw, right? And let's say I've got $300 or $400 into that saw total, and right now the ash is getting between 600 and 700, 1,000 board feet, and you know, if I'm getting 200 board foot out of each tree, somewhere around $7,500 a tree, right? So 3 trees I've paid for it, 4 trees I've paid for it. And it brings up another point. In if a guy's getting a normal amount of trees on a week, let's say they get like 4,000, 5,000 on a really good day. So let's say on a good week they're doing some cutting and they're doing some skidding and stuff like that. Let's say they're getting, I don't know, on a really good week at 10,000 board feet, right? You can have like 10 of those Chinese saws if they don't fail, you know? So I guess where I'm going with that is that one in the last video where I had the XT and I modified it and it ran like a crazy thing for a guy for 6 months, you know? That logger, he cut out hundreds of trees with that saw, and the first 4 of those hundreds of trees, 5 he paid for the saw if he had done that himself. Let's say he bought the kit for $250 and he put another $200 or $300 into it in OEM parts. Now he has a $500 saw, right? That G372 XT. My feeling is if it runs for a month, it paid for itself. Now it's not as good a tool as an OEM Steel or an OEM Husqvarna, but let's just be real. If you're a farmer, you're going to do what I'm doing, where you do this every couple of years. You buy one of those saws like this right here and you burn it up on the job. I keep all my hobby saws from being wore out. I run them occasionally. I might put 10 hours a year on those saws. So I figured that G372 X-Torque modified by me probably got 200 hours, right, before it blew up its bottom end. Now that's terrible from an OEM perspective. In that 200-hour time span, I could easily have done this job right here. So for me to spend $1,500 on a pro saw versus $500 on something like that, I'm saving $1,000 on this job by taking an old saw and bringing it back to life, or doing one of those things, you know what I'm saying? So I get a little bit reflective, you know, I'm getting a little reflective on this. You know, there's lots of reasons not to like those things. I understand that. But there's also a lot of reasons to have fun with them as puzzles. And if you're a part-time person, a part-time saw type person, you get fun, but you have a useful tool you can burn up and make a lot of money if you have a place like this to do it in. And boy, I'll tell you what, that's going to be controversial, but it's true. Having said that, the pride of ownership of having something new OEM sometimes trumps just the cost savings. Like I'm going to have this 565 with me as a backup all the time, and if I can put time on my Chinese project saws or my fun and games hot rod saws out of junk piles, why would I not take the time off the new saw, the expensive one, and put it on the the junk pile. As long as I have a system out in the woods that'll get the job done, if I can take time off of my others with these puzzle saws and these junk pile saws, that's kind of where I was going. That's where I came from. I had a lot of fun with the 660s. They're a little bit big and heavy for me now, but junk pile 562s and junk pile 372s, where they're not new, and I kind of cob them together. If I get 150, 200 hours out of them, and I do a job like this, it's more than paid for itself, is my point. So that XT blew up in around 200 hours, and during that 200 hours, it was making good money for that man. So it doesn't know anything, anybody. And online, we'll have these discussions. It blew up the bottom end, stuff like that. 90% of the guys that get into that debate would never see that failure on that saw. They'd never see it. They'd never put enough time on it to get that far. That's a wedge tree, so I'll put a little more time into setting it up properly. And one of the things I found yesterday, I didn't have enough weight on my other wedge driver when I had gotten into a little bit of a jam. So I'm back to this guy right here, because in the tight quarters it doesn't take a lot of swing in order to make a fair amount of impact, you know. There we go. I left a little bit heavier than normal hinge on that one. If not, I'll just go get another wedge and stack it. There it goes. All right, I left a little heavier hinge in order to direct it, and it cost me a little bit, but not much. And so there's one. Yet again, that heavier wedge driver really paid off this last tree. So what I've been doing is I'm at the outer edge of where I want to cut, and I'm working my way back in so I don't create a mess that I have to drive through as I go further back into the woods. Now this next tree is really straight all the way up to that crotch right there, and then there's a fair amount of firewood up there. Well, I do not want that one to split. I really want that one to come out nice, so I'm going to do a little different style of cut on this one. In this case right here, that's a money log, so now I got to take a little different approach. So I had a little bit less hinge on that. Now it really wants to come right back at us. So now that's what I like to do, and it came out pretty much exactly where I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be a little to the left of that stump. But if you look where I bore cut, you can see where I bore cut, you know, basically two directions. And you also can see I had just enough hinge to guide it, but not so much that it made a tear. And that's the definition of win for me, is when I can make that happen. You know? Nice tree. I'm going to go top it out, and we'll do one more. And Cyclops, for what it's worth, is doing an excellent job. I like this saw. And this is the key. If I go out there and fire it up with one pull and can limit and put it down and turn it sideways, upside down, backwards, because that's what you do when you're limbing, and it doesn't stall on me, it's a good saw. Puzzle top end and all. You know, while I'm talking about ash trees, there's a funny little thing about ash trees is if you want to know how they want to lean, oftentimes all you got to do is look at the stump, because it builds a little structure. See that little knob on the back there? And if you follow this tree up, you'll see that it actually wants to lean. See how that branch is weighted? So it wants to lean that way, away from that. Of course, I wanted to go exactly the opposite direction, so we have yet another wedge job right here. So let's just see if we can make it happen. And these are the ones that get me a little, I don't want to say nervous, but it's a pain because you play that game with how much hinge do you have, because you need enough hinge in order to put the force behind the tree to jack it up and over, you know what I'm saying? So in a small tree you don't have a whole lot of room for a wedge, and so this one here is going to be a little bit of a game. I'm going to have it try to go. I know it's going to hit that. If it breaks, it breaks. It's a small tree, it's a firewood tree anyway, so Now remember, right now it's hanging on that hinge. And it wants to come back right at us. The only thing that's making it go forward is that wedge. There it goes. Ah, crap. That's what I didn't want to do. Hit that log and just split that thing right open. Shoot. That's all right, I guess. Didn't get a lot of it.